Hey everybody, welcome to Top 10 Thursday on the Mana Leak. I'm John as always, and this week is everyone's favorite Top 10 list. The top 10 cards I was wrong about in Dominaria. I'm not a magician, I can't see the future, or as some YouTube comments might suggest, I'm just a crap Magic player. As a result, I'm sometimes wrong about how well cards will perform in a given limited environment. These are the top 10 cards I was wrong about. Do note, I typically tend to find cards where I was the most wrong about for this list, and so I won't typically highlight a card where it was actually a C instead of a C-, for instance. Up first at number 10 is Orcish Vandal. I was pretty hyped for an artifact sacrifice deck in the format, headed up by Orcish Vandal. Unfortunately, that was me getting excited for a cool deck that didn't really exist. An important thing to remember when looking at a set is if a mechanic, theme, etc. isn't at common, then it doesn't exist. Definitely not the optimistic C+ I had, really more of a straight F. I never played it, I never wanted to, and I never will. Because let's face it, I'm never stopping drafting Dominaria until they forcefully pry it from us. Number 9 is Kwende, Pride of Femerif. I gave Kwende a C-, thinking he felt a little bit more like a commander plant or something. I didn't think it'd be that easy for us to pick up first strikers, and so really he was just a 2/2 double strike, which isn't that great. Now, I'm not going to regrade Kwende up to a first pick status like I've seen some pros say that he is, but with Danitha and Dub specifically, it wasn't too hard to find something or make something relevant-ish become a nightmare, especially with the ever so slightly too much amount of lifelink that existed in white in this set. Kwende is much more a B-, not a C-. At number 8 is the Mending of Dominaria. I gave this a D- because I felt it was a super random ramp spell and super slow. Honestly, I was probably still in shock from 2 years or so of the formats demanding that a game end on turn 5. This is slow, sure, and it is random, sure, but you almost always will draw 2 cards off of this and then get some lands on the board. The format was super friendly to this card, and while it still wasn't amazing and it's not a first pick in a lot of packs, I did happily play it more than a few times. Much more around a B-. Howling Golem is up next at number 7. I gave this a D+, thinking that giving your opponent draws was just not what you wanted to be doing. Howling Mine isn't that great in Limited because it's such an advantage to your opponent. Howling Golem took me a while to come around to, and it is still deck dependent, but I think people do play it too little. The trick is, if your deck is very high quality, and you think it's better quality than an average opponent, then you should always be playing the Golem because your draws will just be better than your opponent's. In those decks, this is really more a C+, maybe even a B-. And unlike most effects, you can just stop making this trigger whenever you want if you are getting buried under card advantage. Up next at number 6 is Navigator's Compass. Wait, no, I was right about Navigator's Compass. It's a completely okay card in a variety of decks and is not unplayable. Fight me. Actually up next at number 6 is Urgros the Empty One. I gave this a B because it really does sound good. It's a 4/3 flyer, forcing an opponent to discard if it hits or drawing if they can't. Those are all good words. Unfortunately, this did just die to a fair bit in the format as far as removal and burn goes, as well as flyers and build your own flyers. It even dies without trading to Mammoth Spider. And it costs 6 mana for the privilege of dying to all those things. Too expensive, too vulnerable, unfortunately, and Urgros frequently doesn't even make the cut for me. More of a C to a C-. Number 5 is all of the enchantment and artifact hate. I didn't think that things like Broken Bond or Invoke the Divine would be main deckable because sagas were around for such a short time, and that's what everybody was saying was the reason you want to main deck these. Sure, sometimes they line up perfectly and you were able to hit one and stop a History of Benalia or a Phyrexian Scriptures or something, but there was just a series of problematic artifacts, Blackblade, Icy Manipulator, even Partic Wanderer and such, as well as auras, I'm looking at you on Sarah's Wings, that would show up somewhat frequently. You always had a target, which is not an argument that I accept to consider a card good or main deckable, but in Dominaria you almost always had a worthwhile target. And so they were very main deckable. Holding them in your sideboard is almost always wrong. Number 4 is On Sarah's Wings, which I just mentioned. I gave this a C. 4 mana for an aura that you could just get blown out with didn't sound like a great deal for me. I did say I wanted to be careful because I could see the power. Well, the power was absolutely there. There were so many creatures that could wear the wings insanely well, and the life gain that could happen could super rapidly make games get completely out of reach. This card was ludicrous and probably should have been at rare. Rare auras typically suck to find in your rare slot, but some are just powerful enough if they're not immediately answered, that they have to sit there for limited. Way more of a B+, and I've first picked this multiple times. At number 3 is Whisper, Blood Liturgist. I gave her a D+, saying she was extremely build-around. Now that's still sort of true, but I think the decks that you draft with black just typically end up being friendly for her if you try or not. Even a few Saprolinks kicking around can make Whisper into a creature-returning machine. Value sacking a Deathbloom Thallid is also quite good. Now, Whisper wasn't amazing. I'd still never first pick her, but I think she's way closer to a C+ than the D+ that I started her at. At number 2 is Grow from the Ashes. I gave this a D+. I said that I don't think you always want to play it, and that you really needed to have ramp targets or be doing some 3-color shenanigans. Well, 3-color shenanigans was somewhat the name of the game in Dominaria. Splashing was something you frequently should have been doing, and Grow from the Ashes was just such an amazing way to do it. So much so that some packs you could actually argue for the first pick being Grow from the Ashes. Even in 2-color decks, I'm usually pretty happy with the first one, as ramping, even in a green-white deck that's looking to go wide instead of big, was fine. Way more of a C+, maybe even a B-, just how good it was. Finally, at number 1 is Caligo Skinwitch. I gave Caligo Skinwitch a D-. A 2-mana 1/3 didn't sound that good. Paying 6 mana just to attach a Mind Rot to it didn't sound good either. I never wanted to play this card. But man, was Dominaria ever the perfect format for this card. Between some expensive but great removal like Blessed Light, players holding back kicker spells, players playing every land they could to cast those kicker spells, and so on, this card was frequently super good on turn 6, ripping your opponent's 2 very relevant cards and leaving them empty-handed. Skinwitch was never a first pick, but wow, was she not a D-. Caligo Skinwitch is at least a C+, and honestly in some games felt like a B-. So that's going to wrap it up for the top 10 cards in Dominaria that I was most wrong about. Let me know which cards you were wrong about. Which cards did you think were going to be amazing that actually turned out to be garbage? I know you've got some. I saw those YouTube comments on the set reviews. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at The Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can find me at facebook.com/TheManaLeak, twitch.tv/TheManaLeak, and patreon.com/TheManaLeak. If you like the content, click that thumbs up button, click subscribe if you want to see more. And if you do have questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, see y'all next time.